All right, hello, welcome back to our video series here. In this video, we're going to be talking about lofts and the loft features in SolidWorks, both solid and surface lofts. I'm just going to start here by making a quick sketch on my top plane. I'm going to make a couple profile curves that we can loft between, and we're going to look at the differences between solid lofts and surface lofts, and we're going to talk a little bit more about both of those because this is going to be a tool that you're going to use a lot of in this class, okay? So we've got this first curve here that's sitting on our top plane. There's our top plane right there. We're all good with that. And so I'm just going to exit out of that sketch. And then from the top plane, I'm going to create a new plane that's going to be hovering over that top plane. And the way to do that is just to grab the edge of your plane like that. Just hover over it until you see these little crosshairs. Sorry, let me get it going there. Hover over the edge until you see those crosshairs. Hold down Control and then click once and just drag while holding Control, and you'll pull a new plane up. And that's a parametric thing. So if you look over here at your property manager, you've got a parameter that you can adjust the height of distance from this first plane to the new plane. And for this one, I'm just going to go 50. There we go. And we'll approve that. And now we've got a new plane hovering over our first sketch. From there, we can right click in the design area and just create a new sketch right on that plane. And this one's going to be a circle. There we go. All right. Once that's done, I like to hide the additional plane. This would be a reference plane. I like to hide that just to keep it out of our way and kind of make our lives a little bit easier. So I'll right click on that. We'll go to these eyeglasses that say hide, and we'll just hide that plane. The sketch is still visible. Okay, and now we're going to loft between the two sketches. So let's take a look at that. So let's go lofted boss base, and we're just going to go 1 and 2. There you go. Now remember when you do lofts that you have to be careful about where you click on the profile curve. So like for instance, if I clear these out and show you that if I click way over here on say the back left side of this sketch and then over here on the front right side of this other profile sketch, well, it looks like it actually worked this time, but I was trying to make the example that you should always be kind of clicking in the same sort of general area. If you're going to click on the front of this top profile sketch, click on the front of the bottom profile sketch as well, because what you're doing, you're setting a direction for this control arm here. And that can be something that can cause you some headaches later on down the road. If this thing gets twisted around, you can really jack your form like that. So you really don't want that. Nobody wants that. So, and you can see now I've really created some haywire for myself now. My form is looking a little bit odd now. There we go. I kind of got to put it back into shape. And so let's just look at that really quick. You can see what's going on with our surface here. We really do not have a very clean surface with this loft. It's kind of twisted and a little bit kind of ugly. You can see that this wireframe of the form is kind of wrapping around like this, and this isn't what we'd call like a clean model. And you can see I'm having quite a bit of trouble trying to kind of get this thing right. Let's see here. There's a couple of tricks I can show you how to do. All I'm really trying to do now is just adjust this thing to where I have a pretty good kind of, there we go. That's at least semi-close to what I'm thinking about, okay? So we're going to leave it like that. I'm going to approve that just so we can continue talking about solid lofts, okay? This is our solid loft tool that we've used, and you can see what solid loft does. Lofted boss base. It caps both ends of the profile curves, and then it creates a solid feature. So if I cut this guy in half, we can look inside of it. We can see that it's actually a solid body inside of there. Okay, and so that can be great, and we've used loft a lot, so we're very familiar with that. But instead on this one, let's go ahead and take a look at surface loft and just play around with the difference from that. So I'm just going to delete this solid loft here, and then I'm going to go over to my surfaces tab, and we're going to do a lofted surface. Okay, so I'm just going to go, let's see, 1 and then 2 with a lofted surface, okay? And then I'm just going to approve that. There we go. And so this is the difference between a solid and a surface body. You can see that lofted surface just creates a surface between the two profile curves. We don't get the cap on top or on bottom, and we can see right through this thing, and there's nothing solid about it. It's just a plain surface alone. Also, you see over here in the design tree, we've got surface bodies, and if we unfold that, there's our surface loft right there. We can click on it and it highlights it in the design tree. Okay, so a couple little differences between using the boss base feature and then the lofted surface. Okay. What this does do, though, is it allows us a lot more flexibility. Now we can cap this ourselves. We can cut through this and cap it in a different way if we want. Basically, it just leaves us a lot more opportunity to kind of filling in the blanks ourselves. Gives us a little bit more of an opportunity to make some of the decisions about how this thing is going to get filled in. Okay. And so what we can do in this scenario is we can go ahead and use more surfaces. Since we are dealing with surfaces now, we can cap this ourselves and then solidify it. And so let's just go through that process one more time. Okay. So the tool that I want to use is going to be called planar surface, because we do have a flat, there's our flat edge right there. This flat hole on top is a planar surface. So when you turn on planar surface, it just asks you what are the bounding entities. That's fancy talk for what's the edges you want to fill. So we're just going to click that and fill that. And then we're going to do this to the bottom as well. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. And so that's that. So there she is. That's now capped ourselves. That's not going to solidify the part, though. We still have to go through an additional step of knitting these surfaces together. Because let's look over here at the design tree again. Look what's happened. So now we have our original surface loft from one profile curve to the next. Then we now have the surface plane on top that's capping the top. And then we now have, if we click on this other one, we've got the surface plane on bottom that's capping the bottom. Okay, so we've got three surfaces. We need to knit them all together into one, and then we need to solidify that. Okay? All right, so we're going to use knit surface. There we go. I'm going to click knit surface. And in this case, I'm just going to click these individually. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Okay? Voila. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and knit these surfaces together, but I'm not going to click the try to form solid button like we did in our past video. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to show you that there is other options for you in case this try to form solid button doesn't show up. There's other ways to solidify a model besides this magic button here. Okay. So I'm going to green checkbox that, and I just want to take a look at what's happened. Okay. First of all, we can go to surface bodies. Our model's still hollow because we didn't form a solid through knit surface. Also, in our design tree, our surface body folder now only has one surface inside of it. So we've taken those three surfaces, we've knitted them all into one, and if we click on that surface body in the design tree, everything gets highlighted. Okay? All right, fantastic. So at this point, we can go back to knit surface, highlight everything, and we can go to try to form solid, and that'll do the trick. Okay? Or we can go to this tool here. This is called thicken. And with thicken, it says creates a solid feature by thickening one or more adjacent surfaces. Adjacent surfaces must first be knit. Ugh. So let's turn it on and let's take a look at it. So with thicken turned on, it's a little confusing. It says surface to thicken. We have one single surface body here, so let's just try it. There we go. All right, now it looks weird right off the bat, and that's because we haven't played with thicken very often. But what thicken will do is it'll take a single surface and it'll kind of offset it out into space, and then it'll create a solid between the first surface and the offset surface and then solidify between them. But in this scenario, and in any scenario where you have a fully enclosed volume of surfaces, anywhere you have a watertight model, thicken will introduce this feature here, which says create solid from enclosed volume. This is one of those things in SolidWorks where it doesn't show up right away. It only shows up in the very specific circumstance of having an enclosed volume, and we do have that. So here's this checkbox here, so we're going to check that. The offsets go away, and this is going to do exactly what it says. It says create solid from enclosed volume. So let's just go there. Voila. Okay. Now if we go to our section view tool, we can see that we've solidified the model and we are all good to go. Okay. So thicken is another tool that can be used to solidify a model if you've already knit your surfaces together and you maybe didn't get a chance to create a create a solid from knit surface, thicken can do it for you also. Okay. Again, it's a very specific circumstance, but that's the way it goes. Okay. And as you get better and as you practice this procedure of taking a collection of surfaces and then knitting them together and then creating a solid from them, you're going to learn when knit surface is going to work and when thicken is going to work, and back and forth which one's going to be the best option for you, and you'll be able to see it coming. But it's only going to happen with practice. Okay, so you got to practice this scenario quite a bit, and you'll be able to get it down eventually. All right. Okay, that's going to be it for this video here. I just wanted to show the differences between some of the tools we've used in the past, like Boss Base and now Surface, and then continue to hammer home the process of solidifying our models, because it's going to be something you're going to always want to do. Okay. All right, now in our next video, we're going to take a look at kind of cleaning up this model even more and playing around with maybe adding some guide curves to this loft, and seeing if we can't get a little bit more excitement out of this form, right? Because if we look at this form from, say, like the side view, it's got a very straight profile here, and looking at this, at these zebra stripes, there's some sort of weird divot happening right here, and I'm not sure I like that too much. You can see it right here in this black bar, the way this thing swoops down and then comes here, and then there's this little angle to it. I'm not sure about how that is. If we look at this thing from our front view like that, you can see you've got a really kind of boring, just straight line profile here. And I think I want to get a little bit more love going on in there, make something that's a little bit more friendly. So we're going to add some guide curves. We're going to take this whole thing apart in the next video and put it back together again. It's going to get a lot more complicated. Okay. All right. So that's that for this video. Thanks for watching.